Loading. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Grants and Contracts podcast. We hope you've had a great week and we are so excited for y'all to be here. We're going to be discussing some really exciting things today and kind of just some new changes. I am your co host, Lainey.
And this is Abraham, your other co host for the Grants and Contracts podcast. It's good to see all of you here. Now, before we dive into all the different items, I got some good news to share, but also I want to cover a little bit about the topics that we're going to be discussing today. We're going to be talking about visions, missions, and goals. But around the goals, we're going to talk about the SBA Goaling Report and some of the changes that's happened as it relates to small business set-aside programs, tying back to the Trump administration, the new small business goals. And we're going to evaluate the SBA Goaling Report and what they consider as what's appropriate for small businesses. And then we're also going to talk about your vision, missions, and why that matters in setting your goals and your taglines. And we'll look at some examples of how that can help you get more revenue and coalesce an army of volunteers and an army of people to help you with your nonprofit or your for-profit organization.
Yeah, it's so exciting. And I feel like, Abe, our podcast has kind of shifted a little as the new administration came in. I feel like we're almost like breaking news where we're coming on and saying like, have y'all seen this? Because it's just, there's so much stuff coming out and, so much stuff we're talking about. And I feel like the government contracting landscape and even nonprofit, because we've talked a lot about the funding, there's some changes. There's a lot of changes going on. And I feel like it's way more fast changes than what we've seen maybe in the past. So we're constantly making sure we're up to date on what's going on, really keeping in with those current events as it relates to government contracting. Us and our team, trying to do research. So thank you to that GCA team kind of helping us make sure we're keeping the most up to date on what's happening. Abe, we always start our podcast the same way, asking you, did you play pickleball this weekend? What happened this weekend?
Of course, I played pickleball this weekend. So it just so happened that we celebrate our 23rd anniversary this weekend. And so we got a chance to go to Augusta. I got to fish right off the houseboat and then also play in the pickleball tournament. I was able to win bronze in singles and in mixed doubles got silver. So it was fun. It was a great weekend of playing pickleball and having fun. So it was absolutely a great weekend.
That's so exciting. I know. So if you're just joining us, we would love to see your name, your company, where you're joining us from. We'd love to see where our audience is from. Me and Abe are both located in Georgia. We've been dealing with the summer heat. But something funny, I think, is that when I first met Abe, if somebody would have come up to me and said, okay, what is one emoji you would put next to Abe's name? Obviously, I would have to find something about government contracting because he's what I consider the king of government contracting. But the next emoji I would have put is a fish. He's a huge fisherman and him and my husband get along great for that. But now, I think I would take that away and I would put the pickleball instead of the fish, which is it's a crazy thing to think about because I've always known you as a fisherman.
Yeah, I think that goes back into life, right? You have to keep on learning, keep on exploring and discovering new passions and new things in life. And that ties back to business entrepreneurship. And whether you're running a for-profit or nonprofit organization, you always have to evolve and change with times. And like, for example, AI came about, you have to adopt new AI technologies. Or if the Trump administration, new administration, the Trump administration, this example, the landscape is always changing. And so you have to continue to evolve and change with the market or you get left behind. And it's the same thing in life. I had to do the same thing. So if you're just joining us, thanks for joining us. For those of you joining us live, or if you're watching the replay, like and subscribe and click on the notification bell so you can get notified every time we do live or every time a new post comes on. But if you're joining us live, put in the chat area your company name and where you're joining us from. That would be awesome. That will give us a little bit perspective of where you're joining us from. With that, Lainey, you want to dive in a little bit and you want to talk about vision, mission, and goals first, and then we'll go into the SBA.
Yeah. So today, as you can see, you've joined, you've seen what today's title is. We're going to be talking about mission, vision, and taglines. More specifically, making sure those are very clear in if you're just creating your organization or your nonprofit, or even if you're rebranding. And we're going to be talking about today why are those so important, but also working to work through some of that as we get further along in the episode. We're going to open it up to some of our viewers of real life, working through some of those mission, vision, and taglines. So let's jump in on what do we consider to be, because mission, vision, and tagline, they have some things in common, but then there's certain differentiators that set them apart.
Yeah, now I have a challenge for all of you who are watching this here. My challenge is this: can you, without looking at, some of you don't even have a vision or mission statement. Some of you know how to set goals, but we'll go cover that a little bit as well. But do you know your vision statement? And if you don't, then bad, 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 right? Now, shame on you. You need to have a vision statement with your, or if you don't remember, shame on you as well. And so you got to have a vision, a mission statement that you remember, and a vision and mission statement that you can communicate to other people, whether it's your employees, whether your volunteer staff, your board members, your directors of your company, or your nonprofit. And this is true for any type of organization, right? Your vision, mission, and tagline has to be consistent. And you have to remember it, because if you are the most important person in your organization and you don't remember your own vision and mission statement, do you think anybody else is going to remember it? Absolutely not. So that's what we'll be talking about, why this is important. Well, let's talk about a few things of why you're identifying or solidifying your vision, mission, and goals, why that's important. So let's have a quick conversation before I go into the training of how to create this here. Lane, what are some things that you feel that's important to make sure that the vision and mission are very clear in an organization?
Yeah, so I think that a couple of things. First, you need to make sure it's what your organization is actually doing. We talked a little bit, I think, 2 weeks ago about mission bleeding and making sure, your mission should have you the targeted work you're doing. And that's why sometimes, if you're an existing organization, you do have to update that mission, or you do have to update that vision and tagline, because as your organization grows, more things can start to take shape. But I think something else about the mission is that it's so important to have a clear mission and have it stated, right on your website, right on your emails, so that if an agency or even a foundation is looking at you, they automatically know what you do. They don't have to go read your history. They don't have to go find it. They see the mission statement and it should tell what you do. And I think that's important because and we're going to be diving into this with some agencies or even foundations, they all have mission statements. That is what they're doing. So it kind of gives you the opportunity at the first step to align with either that agency or that foundation.
And yeah, ultimately, right, the bottom line is it helps you to generate more revenue. It helps you to generate more funding if you're a nonprofit, and it helps you to create more people that believe in what you are trying to do as an organization. If you're a nonprofit, you need volunteers, you need board members, you need people to come and and support the vision and the mission. If you're a for-profit, you need your employees and your staff members to buy into the vision of what you're trying to accomplish. If you don't have that, then it doesn't allow you to achieve the level of success that you want ultimately. And the better it is, the larger you can be, the more support you can get. So let's dive in a little bit. This is a little bit of our agenda. We're not going to cover everything today, but we'll cover some of these here. So I'm going to start off by, for many of us, right, you deserve an answer. And the answer to this question, are you living the life that is meant for you? And if you are not yet, or if you are, that's awesome. But if you are not yet, you need to understand what is your purpose. And I remember in my early 30s, I had to ask the question, what is my life's purpose? And sometimes
Mhm.
we ask it when we're younger, but we really don't start to identify what that is until we're a little bit more seasoned in life. And I finally asked this tough, at first I thought I was going to be an educator in terms of a teacher. Then
I
I
didn't know
thought
that.
I was meant to be an entrepreneur and use and grow companies and help other people and the ultimately I asked the tough questions in my mid 30s and I said, okay, what is truly my life purpose? And it took many years to to have lots of life experiences to really identify my true purpose. And I will address my own personal mission statement in a little bit, but you as a part of our audience, you deserve to have an answer to some of the things that that keep you up at night. And so, and then, are you feeling fulfilled?
Yeah.
And then
I
what
think
we want to do is we want to address some of these here and your company as well.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, me and my husband went to this was our second year in a row going to this conference, and it's a really cool experience because it is taught by Gary Keller. So if you know who
Mhm.
Gary Keller is, he is the founder of Keller Williams. He has done amazing for himself. He's made a in very large real estate brokerage is what he's done, and he kind of built it from the ground up.
Yeah, you were sharing about Keller. Lainey, I think you
Sorry,
went on mute.
can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
I think my internet dropped. But so what I was saying was Gary Keller, he's the founder of Keller Williams. He puts on this training every year in the summer. And the reason we keep going back, other people keep going back, is because he teaches on something that I think a lot of people don't teach on, and how important it is for your personal missions and your personal goals and how those
Mhm.
relate to your business. So some people would say, oh, my business goals and my personal goals, they're not the same. Well, he combines everything because he's like, if you're healthy, if you're meeting your personal goals, your business goals are going to follow as well. And I think it's important, today we're talking about organizations, we're talking about businesses, but then there is that side of it of what is your personal mission? What is your purpose? And how does that kind of, especially as us as entrepreneurs, how does that push you along on the business side?
Yep. All right, so let's go in. Let's talk about what's the difference between a vision, a mission statement, and your goals. Because sometimes these things here, people have different understanding of it. Sometimes people think the vision and the mission are the same. Sometimes your goals are tied to your mission, but there's a lot of different similarity and differences between these three things here. Just to start from the very beginning, what is a vision statement, right? And so I want you to think, if
Mm-hmm.
you're part of our audience here, I want you to think, what is your vision statement? And not necessarily what is your vision statement, but do you have a vision statement? And so my answer to this here is what it is this here. Your vision statement has to do with the what. And the what is the big picture. This is the big picture statement. It's not like a goal is a very specific, tangible something that can be achieved. Whereas the vision is something big and it's the big picture. It has to do with the future, not the now, not the past, but the future. So the vision has to do with your eyes, right? It has to do with your eyes. It has to do with how you see the future for your organization or for you yourself. It has to be your whatever vision statement you create has to be powerful and has to be memorable. Now, I've seen people create a two-paragraph vision statement that nobody remembers and nobody
Yeah.
even know how to reference it. It has to be powerful and it has to
Mm-hmm.
be memorable. If it's you can have a great vision statement, but if it's not powerful and memorable and nobody remembers it, it does you no good. So it must be. It has to do with what the big picture, how you see the future, and it has to be powerful and memorable. So let's look
I have a
at
question.
Mhm.
Abe, I know that so at GCA, me and Abe are both we work at Government Contractors Association, GCA. So our mission is to educate, facilitate, and advocate. Do we
Mhm.
have a vision statement? And I might be asking a very not smart question by saying that.
Yeah, we do. And you'll see it in a second. That's going to be
Okay.
one of our examples here. So let's look at an example of a vision statement. Now, for some of you, you're Trekkies. And this is Star Trek's vision statement: space, the final frontier. Now, imagine this is a make believe series on TV and in the movies, but they have a vision statement in space, the final frontier. Let me break that down, why that is such a powerful vision statement. When you imagine that the captains of the Enterprise, space, if we just look at the word space itself, space is so vast that we as society have sent out voyagers that have gone beyond uh, frequencies that comes back to our planet Earth. And so it's so vast, so far out there. It's almost infinity, right? We can't imagine how far, how deep, how wide what space is. But that's the vision statement. It's the final frontier, and that they want to go to the final frontier. And truth is, you never really reach the final frontier, because when you get there, you discover, whoa, the end is further out. You get to that, the end is further out. And so my example with this here is that your vision statement has to be so big and so unachievable that it will coalesce a whole bunch of people that believes in this vision statement and that wants to achieve the same thing that you want to achieve. That's the vision statement. It has to be big, right? Now,
Yeah.
Google is to develop a perfect search engine. The operative word here is perfect.
Perfect.
Now, Lainey, in your life, how many, when we say this is perfect, like what do you know in your life that you feel like this is perfect? What out there is perfect?
Um, I think the only thing that I would be able to say with this as somebody, I am religious, I am a Christian, it would be the Lord, or, that on that religious
Hmm.
aspect, because
Yeah.
nobody is perfect. I mean, there's not
Mhm.
a I don't think there's a single thing on the world that's perfect. I would like to say this, and I don't know if you agree with me with Abe. So I've talked about we're expecting our first child, and I bet when she is born in December, I will definitely use the word perfect to describe her, because I think all parents do that.
Hmm.
But I think those would kind of be the two things that are perfect. Most things are not perfect, as we would say.
Yeah, yeah. Because perfection is unachievable, right? From in
Mhm.
the general sense, and you use
Yeah.
some examples there, because we say that our child is perfect because that's what's been given to us, and we all believe that our child is perfect. I believe my spouse is perfect, right? My wife is perfect, but
Yeah.
but these are the things that we say. But Google has the audacity to say that they're going to create the perfect search engine, which is unachievable. How can
Yeah.
you ever create the perfect search engine? Apple wants to make the perfect iPhone. It's never
Mhm.
going to be perfect. There's always going to be room for improvement, right? And so for
Yeah.
Google to say we want to make the perfect search engine as a vision statement, now they've gone out there and they control about 85, 86% of the internet searches. I mean, they've
Mhm.
done an incredible job. Why? Because they're in the
Yeah.
pursuit of perfection. And so this is a great, powerful vision statement because it's never going to be achievable, but it also coalesce all of their staff, all of their employees, all their people, from the leaders to the shareholders to the stockholders to us, we as the users of their tools, to understand that if this is what they're seeking, we want to be part of it. We want to use their resources.
Yeah, and I think
Powerful.
that's an interesting word for them to use, because we could easily replace that word with to develop the biggest search engine, which they did, to develop
Mhm.
the most up-to-date search. There's other words that we would say they have accomplished, but they will never fully accomplish that perfection. But I think that makes it a good vision because there's always something to strive for.
Mhm. And And in the, because this is the first version of Google. Now Google have gone from a search engine to a smart car to AI technology company to servers to cloud computing to a venture capital fund to
Yeah.
to many different things out there. Why? But it started off with the quest to be perfect, and it expanded to many different things as a original starting point.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about some practical. So GCA, our vision statement is to create access. 3 words. So
Mhm.
what I mean by create access, we want to create access where small businesses have access to contracting opportunities. We
Mhm.
want to create access where small businesses have access to large primes. We also want to create access to where large primes have access to small businesses and agencies have access to more qualified company. So
Yeah.
our vision statement has to do with both ways, right? Now, small businesses win about 20% of contracting dollars. The top 100 companies, they win about 52% of all the contracting dollars at the federal level.
Wow.
We
Mhm.
will never achieve this vision here. To
Yeah.
create access, we will be working for the rest of our lives, Lainey, to create access for small businesses and for agencies to work together. And we'll probably never achieve this here. That's
Yeah,
our
and
vision statement.
we're always coming up with new ideas. Maybe a small business has a new idea, and there's always going to be other ways to create that access. Just I'll throw in there, we have our GovCon community. We'd love for you to join if you're watching, but that's a way that we felt really helped to create that access and that education, facilitation, and advocating.
Yep. So everything we do is to create access, right? As relates to our vision, and we do that. We have lots of different tools, resources. Now, I have a personal vision statement also. My personal vision statement is, "It is finished." That's my vision statement. Why is that my vision statement? I imagine if I'm fortunate enough, my last thought before I leave this planet, this world here, these are the last words I want to say. These 3 words here. It is finished. Why? Because the time that you, Lainey, and I spent together doing this podcast, I want to say it is finished. I've done everything I can to make this podcast awesome. I want to say
Mhm.
that the sacrifices that my kids and my wife have made so that I can be part of the Government Contractors Association, so that I can work with small businesses and help companies grow. I want to say that I've done everything I can and it is finished. I want to say that, my
Yeah.
life, if I reflect on my life, what legacy, small or grand, doesn't matter to me, that I've done everything in my life and it is finished. I've done what I was put here to do and I am ready to move on. And so that's kind of my own personal vision statement. Is it encompasses everything about who I am, everything about my life, everything that I do, from pickleball to fishing to the Government Contract Association to the training programs to friendships to so
Yeah.
this is my vision statement. Now, my question to you, if you're joining us and watching this here, do you have a personal vision statement? So any thoughts on vision statement before we move on to mission, Lainey?
No, but I really like yours. I've never heard that as your vision statement. Another one I like, there's a place here in North Georgia, which I think now they're nationwide, and their vision statement, they're actually a clothing brand, but
Mm-hmm.
it's love people, love God. And that they
Mm-hmm.
wanted their clothing brand to show them that they love they love people. That's why they created the clothing. But I like the small vision statements, which is what we're talking about. Sometimes you'll read an organization's vision statement. It's great. It has great meaning, but a 3 word is going to stick in your mind and be like, well, what does that mean? It really gets you thinking when I saw it is finished. Okay, where is he going with this? I think I know where he's going, but it I think it just creates so much more intrigue. It creates I just love the small vision statements. I really do.
Yep. Short, powerful, right? Memorable. All right,
Mhm.
so let's move on to mission statement. So we've been talking about vision. Now let's talk about mission statement. What is a mission statement? So your mission is your why. And
Yeah.
so the vision is the what. The mission is the why, and sometimes we call it your purpose statement, right? Your purpose statement is your
Hmm.
mission statement in almost all situations. It doesn't have to be. Some people have a mission and a purpose statement, but from my perspective, there's no right or wrong in these things here. I just share and have my own personal opinion about how to create a mission statement and what is a mission statement. But from my perspective, is your purpose statement, and it has to do how you see the now, or it has to do about the now, not necessarily the future, but the now. And so your mission statement must be powerful and memorable. So let's go back and talk about a few examples here. So Star Trek, we start off with Star Trek, and their mission statement is to seek out new life, to boldly go where no one has gone before. I mean, I read that. I'm not super geeky Trekkie, but semi Trekkie. And I get goosebumps just reading this statement: to seek out new life, to boldly go where no one has gone before. And that's
Yeah.
what they do. Every episode, everything they do is they're seeking out new life, and they're boldly going, not just going, but they're boldly
Boldly.
going to where no one has gone before. So it ties back to the vision statement as well, right? The vision statement and the mission statement aligns with each other here. Now, Google is to
Mhm.
organize the world's information and make it universally accessible and useful. And they have done that. As soon
Yeah.
as you put up your website, within hours, if not within the first 24 hours or so, Google have indexed it, and they made
Yeah.
it accessible, and they make it useful for other people to attain that data about you and your organization. And so, and now they didn't just say to organize the US information, they said to
The
organize the
world.
world's information and make it accessible and useful. So, and this is what they do day in, day out. They're a
Yeah.
data driven organization, and they go about the mission every single day. Let's go into GCA, right? And you alluded to this here earlier, Lainey, that our mission statement is very simple: EFA, to educate, facilitate, and advocate. Education is this podcast is part of our education.
Yeah.
We have classes, we have training programs. Facilitation has to do with connecting people to resources. We facilitate relationship, facilitate connections. And then advocate is being a voice for small businesses when sometimes you may not always have a voice, but being a voice and going along with you in your journey, and making sure that you have a voice in the small business world as it relates to government contracting. And then my own personal uh, mission statement is DAT. Now I've since updated to have a different phrase, but my original mission statement is DAT, DAT. Now DAT is my son's first word. He was a careless little child. It wasn't mommy, it wasn't daddy. His first word was, "What, dad?" He was just curious about the world, and he pointed to, I don't remember what he pointed to, and he pointed to something. He said, "What, that?" He can't even pronounce the word that, right? So he said, "What, that?" Well, D is to discover my gifts, A is to apply my gifts, and T is to transfer my gifts. And so that's really my own personal mission statement. Now, I've since rephrased this here differently. And so, living my gifts, helping others walk their journeys. So it means the same thing to me, but it's a little bit smoother, cleaner, and more
Yeah.
true as a true mission statement. So living my gifts, helping others walk their journeys. So that's my own mission statement. For those of you who are watching this here, I if you don't have a mission statement, I want to encourage you, have a mission statement. If your organization have a mission statement, and your organization is just an organization, you yourself as an individual is so much more important than a company or a nonprofit that you're a part of. You have to be grounded with a vision and a mission statement. So goal setting is the how, right? We talk about the what, the why, and goals are the how. How will you achieve your vision? How will you achieve your mission? It has to do with your actions. What are the steps? What are the hands and feet, the actions that you will take? Whereas the your vision has to do with your eyes, and your goals has to do with your hands and feet of what you're actually doing. And again, it has to be
Yeah.
measurable and controllable. Now, it's okay to have some goals that is so far out there, but you know, and that's kind of good too. You need to have some big goals, but you also need to have goals that you can actually achieve, milestone goals. There may be a big overall goal, but there must be some milestone goals as well. And it has to be measurable and controllable. And here's what that means. Examples of
And
goals. Uh-huh.
what I wanted to say is in my when I if you have ever taken a grant class with me, something that I always bring up is SMART goals, which are the
Yeah.
specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. And I always teach that because I think that I mean you need all of those, and some of them aren't. You don't check all five off, but something I was really cool for me. I've taught that in classes, you know, I did not come up with SMART goals. I actually had a mentor that showed me SMART goals and I loved the acronym is why I teach it. But
Mm-hmm.
I actually was in a I was looking at a grant this week and one of the things that you had to do was submit your goals, your outcomes for the organization and they actually reference SMART goals. They put it in it was a state thing, but they put it in the application. And I was so excited to see that because I was like, this is what I've been teaching about. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's not my, I didn't create it, but they're bringing these up. And I thought it was really cool to see that. And I think with your goals, it pushes you forward the same like a checklist. If you make a checklist for the day and you end that day and you're like, I got everything on my checklist, like I feel like $1,000,000. It's the same thing with goals. We really encourage our clients to do immediate goals, short term, midterm, and long term. And that long term, I mean, I've been in planning sessions where a long term looks like a 10-year goal. But
Mm-hmm.
going ahead and setting those, re-looking at those every couple months and really pushing forward those long-term goals.
Yeah, and so some examples of something very practical, right? You can have
Mhm.
a goal of I want to lose 50 pounds, but that's not necessarily, that is measurable, but you can't control that. So a better goal that is measurable and that you can control is exercise 3 times a week. That you
Yeah.
can control. And if you do that combined with, eat less, consume less soda or consume no soda,
Mhm.
combining, or drink only one soda per week, combined with multiple goals like that, you can achieve the 50 pounds in terms of your weight loss goals. So instead of just a number of losing amount of weight over a period of time, you have something that you can control. That's the other part, right? If you just put a goal and you leave it to the universe to achieve it for you, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
You have to do something about it.
And
Or
another thing I really
maybe,
like with
mhm.
I am sorry, we're lagging a little bit, but another thing I really like with goals is m sometimes you'll have a larger goal, but you have 5 smaller goals that get you to that larger goal. So, going back to the example of wanting to lose 50 pounds. Okay, that's the large goal, but you exercise 3 times a week. You no longer drink sodas, people are into intermittent fasting. There's all these things, but it's stuff that you can check off. Okay, I Monday, Wednesday, and Friday I exercised. Great, I did great this week. And then you hit your goal. But I think sometimes a big goal does have to have smaller action points to get to that goal.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And so there, we could talk about different type of goals, personal goals as well, and we can talk about, your business goals and so forth. But for this year, I want to shift and talk about the SBA and their goals for small businesses. So let me minimize this here and go to the SBA. So this is the SBA, and they release this document here in terms of what they want to accomplish small business goals, which all of you are part of the government contractor community. 90, based upon SBA site standard, 99% of companies are considered small businesses. And they put out their version of how they're going to achieve their small business goals and the methodologies and how do they define small business and many of these different things here. So as we go through this here, there's a few things. I'm going to put this link. In fact, let me put this link in the chat for many of you who want to go look at this report here.
I'm going to put it right now.
Okay.
I have it.
And I want you to kind of, they say that overall, for all small businesses, they want to achieve not less than 23%, right? So that's the first overall goal. For all small businesses, 20%. SDB, which stands for Small Disadvantaged Businesses, the 8A program falls under the SDB. It's not less than 5%. Now, under the Biden administration, this was a 15% goal. Under the Trump administration, they changed it back to 5%. So this is 2025. For women-owned small businesses, 5%. SDVOSB is 5%. And for HubZone, it's 3%. So these are the stated goals that the SBA have as it relates to small businesses. We did see this change, which is disappointing, that for small disadvantaged businesses, the goal went from 15% down to 5%, which impacts a lot, mostly 8A companies. Now, you can still be a small disadvantaged business and not be 8A, but that was the change here. So as it comes back to this year, there's so much to talk about in here. I'm going to highlight one or two key items here. There's a few things that they look at. What factors do they consider in the setting goals, right? Vendor availability, and so they don't calculate the percentage off of the total contract awarded amount, which is for 2024, which is about $755 billion. They calculate it off of vendor availability, meaning that for these projects, can small businesses perform on it as a prime contractor? So, for example, if a project is $20 million, they might say, "Oh, that's too big for small businesses." So they won't count that number. So I challenge the SBA how they're creating these standards, right? If you're going to have a goal, you can't cheat on the goal. You can't say, "Oh, this project is $500 million, so we're not going to count it for small businesses. We can't calculate that in the total all number." That's manipulating the data. And so I challenge the SBA methodology because if you're going to have a true 23% set aside goal, you have to calculate based on the total contracting awards out there. And so I feel that they manipulate the numbers so that they can achieve their small business goals itself. And it goes on
and make them look better than they're actually doing.
Yes. And if you look at the goal report, they say, "Oh, we achieve our goal," because they manipulate the standard or the methodology. There's another item here that I want to address a little bit, and then we're going to go into how they did, right? Double credit. Now, when you see this double credit, what do you think it means, Lainey? Any ideas?
I'm thinking it's a 2-for-1 special. That's what I'm reading when I see that.
Mm-hmm. So double credit means that if you let's assume you're a HubZone company and you're a women-owned certified company, and you win a contract with one agency. So that agency is going to report. Let's assume you win $1 million contract. They're going to report $1 million towards the women-owned. They're going to report $1 million towards the HubZone, even though it was a a women set aside,
It was
they
one
will
country.
double count that revenue because you have two certifications. They would double count that into two different certifications.
So if
And again,
someone's also a veteran, they're going to 3 count it?
yes, yes.
Mm,
So that's manipulating the data again. Uh, and
yeah.
so there's something, yeah, and you read through this here, like in the real world, this is for contracting purposes, right? In the commercial world, if you manipulate numbers like this here in your accounting,
It's fraud.
this is like fraud, right?
Yeah, this is
and
fraud. If
and
we did this, we would be arrested, but they're allowed to do it because they set the rules.
yes, so
So
rules, those who make up the rules can come up with any rules they want, and so they can double count reporting. They can say, "Oh, this company, yes, it was a women-owned set aside, but because they're HubZone, women-owned, and SDVSB, we're going to count it 3 times."
mm-mm.
So I have some challenges with some of the things of how the methodology, but I understand they're trying to achieve their goals and they have to double count, triple count. Um, but let's look at what happened, what recently happened, right? So this article just came out a few days ago. To kind of the SBA just released their uh, or the their scorecard, and they said that for the second year in a row, they awarded 28% of prime contracts to small businesses. Now, this report reflects the Biden administration. This does not reflect the Trump administration. And so this scorecard came out, and they said that they awarded 183 billion to small businesses, and they surpassed the record of 2023 by $5 billion. Now, 183 billion dollars. If we look at I'm gonna look at the overall number, right? It says agency also spent 69 billion through small business set asides. So small business set asides, 8A owned, women owned, SDVSB, HubZone, VOSB, $69 billion of it went to small business that have certification. 183 billion is to all small business in general. But let's take this $183 billion and let's do the math. And I haven't done this here, so this is real life going through the math together here. I'm going to pull up my digital calculator and we're going to do the math. So $755 billion. 1, 2, 3. So $755 billion divided by 183. No, 183 billion, right? It's not. It's 183 billion. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 divided by $755 billion. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So that's 24%. Now they say
And
they
they're saying
achieved
28.
28%, right? So the numbers don't add up. Why? Because there are billions of dollars that they say, oh, this is too big. We're not going to count it toward the small business goal. So this is where I said that when you make the rules, you can finagle the numbers however you want. And it looks like they achieved 28% goal, but in reality, they only got to 24% overall for 2024.
Yeah, and I would be really interested to kind of go into USA spending and look at some of this stuff because that's going to show, real numbers too instead of them just reporting. But it makes me think of so I can remember as a kid playing, whatever game we're playing with my parents. If it was Uno, if it was hide and seek, and then if me and my brother, one of us started losing, we wanted to change the thing. So, oh, you can't tag me if I'm on the couch. This is a safe zone. Or, like you can't put down 2 draw 4s in a row on Uno. And my mom would always say, you can't change the rules to fit you. You have to follow their rules. But that's what they're doing right now to make them look better. And I wonder if there's something with this, and you might have some more ideas that maybe they feel like the work is going to get done better with these larger organizations. And I know that's what we work to change the stereotype on, that small businesses can do just as good of a job, if not better of a job, than these large primes.
Yeah, well, large primes, there are some situations where large companies can do better than small biz, but there are a lot of situations where small biz are more flexible, more nimble. They can move faster, they can be
Yeah.
agile, and they can do better than large company because they have less, layers of management and less in terms of overhead. And so, so
Yeah.
I would say depending on the opportunities or the project itself, in some situations, small business would be better. And like if you're going to do like build, right now we're building not the Iron Dome, but what they call it, the um, what's the in for Israel they call it the Iron Dome. In the U.S. we have a different term, uh,
Yeah,
missile
I'm not
defense,
sure.
where if there is any missile coming
Yeah.
to the United States, we have missiles that's going to shoot those down.
Yeah.
And we're creating that. Well, if you're going to build that, you're not going to award that to a small biz as the prime, because
Yeah.
you're talking about billions of dollars, and small biz don't have the resources and the engineers and the technologists to do something that vast. So I
Yeah.
understand that in those type of situations, it's got to be a large company. But there are a lot of projects out there that small biz are just as good, if not better, in some type of situation.
Yeah, and I think that small businesses, I would argue that they can pay attention to some details a lot better. Just like you said, there's not as much bureaucracy like in a corporate company, and it's more personable. And I'm not saying the government necessarily wants more personable, but if I'm the owner of my company, but I'm also somebody that's on the job every single day, you can call me and I know what it's doing. Where if you call the CEO of a very, very large company, he doesn't know what's happening in that project. Only that project leader or that manager knows. And you're going, like you said, going down all the steps. But I think this is very interesting. And I'm interested to see. And the thing that interests me, and I would say the audience would agree with this, is if we would have never went in and read that fine print, we would never know this. So
Mhm.
kind of have to dive in to really know what's happening, because if we just read that article, we would say, "Oh, 28%, they're doing great," and we teach our students they're always meeting their goals. Well, are they? When you look at
Yeah.
the fine details.
So let's shift gears back to, we've been talking about vision, mission, and goals. And really, sometimes your tagline is your mission or your vision statement. Let's look at some examples of and helping you. Like if you're live with us and you want us to help you develop a vision or mission statement for your organization, put your company name and your website on the chat area, and we will kind of do a demo with you. But Lainey, you wanted to give us a quick using AI to help create your vision and mission statement. You got some examples to help us with?
Yeah, I do. So I'm going to share my screen. Um, Let me get it pulled up. So this is just a nonprofit that I wanted us to look at. It's Mentor Me North Georgia. This is their mission. Mentor Me North Georgia serves children and youth by providing professionally supported mentoring relationships with approved volunteers. So I am going to actually put this. Abe, would you say Perplexity is the best one to put this in?
Yeah, we could do Perplexity. We can use ChatGPT, Gemini. Any of these AI tools out there will be very helpful. And because if you look at your company, your organization, your nonprofit, for profit, you can ask any of these AI tools to go and review your website, and then have it create 15 recommendations of mission statement for your company, and the tool will do it for you.
Yeah. So if you want to help me, Abe, with a little bit, I know we're asking them to review our thing, but what are we asking them to act like? So I want to show y'all this on Perplexity for the reason I think that a lot of people are familiar with ChatGPT. Normally, when you bring up AI, that's the first one. But I've really been enjoying Perplexity on the research side, because I like it'll pull articles that are like very up to date articles, so you can kind of click in there, read, and we'll put this link in and it'll be able to look at that on the website. So I like Perplexity when we're looking at stuff like this.
Yep. And it looks at the internet in real time. So
Mhm.
here's the prompt that we want to do. So I want to say we want to create a mission statement for our organization called Mentor Me. And then, yep. And then the next sentence would be review our website and our current mission statement on our website. And then put in the website URL. And then next sentence is create 15 examples of possible mission statement for our organization. And then next sentence, be sure to make it memorable, simple, and short, using 5 phrases or using 6 phrases or using 6 words or less, using 6 words or less.
Okay. So
And
we're gonna
then
do this.
just enter it and see what it gives us.
Yeah. So some of these are really good.
Yeah. And go back to their website, because they're the way they when they say they have a mission statement, their mission statement is not a true mission statement. It's just a statement,
Mhm.
right? Mentor Me of North Georgia serves children. They're just talking about what they do. That's more like their service or what they do as an organization. It's not a true mission statement. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to create a mission statement that is memorable and powerful, so that everybody can say, I love their mission. And here is just a sentence. That's what this is. So go
Yeah.
back to Perplexity and let's look at a few of them to see which one we like the most. And you
So
should
this
do
one
this for your organization.
this one sticks out to me a lot. The mentoring kids, changing lives forever.
Hmm.
Because I think it plays on people's emotions, but it also that's what they're doing. They're
Hmm.
mentoring kids and we know I actually know this organization, so it's not some random one I found off Google, but I mean their statistics are very positive on, the literacy changes, the confidence building, that kind of stuff. So you want to speak to that in your mission.
Yeah, so I actually I like that, mentoring kids, changing lives. I would probably take out the word forever. Um,
Yeah, changing
because
lives.
this as a now this is actually a if we leave the word forever, this is more of a vision statement,
Yeah.
right? Because changing lives forever is so big and so powerful, and it's such a futuristic perspective that I think it's more of a vision statement. But it could also, the mentoring kids is the now. And so that is more of a mission. The changing lives forever is more of a vision. So if I was looking for a vision statement, changing lives forever might be a super powerful vision
Yeah.
statement. Uh, and
Yeah.
then because they're focused on kids, uh, changing kids' lives, changing the lives of kids forever, or something like that might be,
Yeah, students' lives or
yeah,
something.
that could be a very good vision statement.
Yeah.
Support, mentor, grow, thrive together, inspiring confidence through caring mentors, helping you succeed with mentors, mentoring that matters to kids. One mentor, one child, big impact. That's kind of interesting.
I like this one.
Which one?
Caring
Caring
adults,
youth.
confident youth connection.
Okay. Caring adults, confident youth, connection. Um, So there's a lot of potential good possibility here. So in the next prompt, let's do another prompt. Go down, go to the
Okay.
bottom, and put in here, give me another 15 examples using only 3 words, and consider using um, consider adding alliteration to the words.
Spelled that right.
Uh,
I
sh-
thought it was with an A. Yeah.
yep.
I should
So,
know that. I'm an English major. I knew what it was. I just was not spelling it correctly.
let's see
Let's
what
see what it
it
comes
does.
up with. I
You
like
see
this
how
one.
now it changes it? It makes it
Yeah.
even more easier to remember by using alliteration.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if I like the miracles, but I think this is a really good one. Hope, help, heal.
Ooh, yeah.
Um, I think that that's a very strong. I don't know if they would necessarily say that they're healing children, but some of the kids are very they're coming from just different situations. I think this would work really well with actually another organization that I know
Yeah.
of
I think they should,
cuz
yeah, the other
use
organization
that.
that
Yeah.
you work with, that is like, we need to steal that for them, you know?
Yeah. They just updated all their stuff, but that's a good one for them. Empower every experience. Um, I'm gonna tell it to change some of these phrases.
Hmm.
Not only include mentorship, but also I just want to see what it comes up with. So,
Hmm.
mentor, motivate, master, teach, tutor, thrive.
Mm. Yeah.
They don't necessarily use the word mentoring minds matter. They don't use the word tutor
Hmm.
because they actually call it an academic mentor.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to kind of see some of these because what they're doing is very much on education.
Yeah.
This one's interesting. Homework, help, hope, because that's what they're doing.
I like
Reading
the
role,
boosting brilliance. I would take out the word bold. I would just go
boosting
boosting brilliance.
brilliance. Yeah, I like that too.
2 words is even more powerful than 3 words in some situation. In this situation, I think boosting brilliance is actually really cool from
Yeah, I think
outside.
it's really cool. So think about, let's just look at talking about AI for a second. Imagine, I don't know, how many years have you been using AI, Abe? I know for 3 years. 3 years ago, you introduced it to me, but were you using it before that or about 3 years ago?
No, I started tinkering with it right before the big announcement that everybody started using it in November 2022. But yeah, I'm an early adopter, so yeah, I do
Yeah.
research. I like new things that's on the market. Um, but yeah, right before the general population start using it.
So about 3 years ago. So I've been using AI for 3 years now. But think about 5 years ago if we were doing this podcast and we said, "Oh, we want to brainstorm some taglines." Think about, we would sit here and be like, I can't even think of a word. We'd be looking up
Hmm.
synonyms and definitions and
Yep.
all of that. And now we type something in and we have 30 different statements, or I think we have actually 45 different statements
Hmm.
in the span of 5 minutes, which is
Yep.
just so insane. Um, but yeah, everyone, if you're even if you're watching back or following us live, let us know how let us know your tagline, let us know that. But if you end up, using Perplexity to edit your mission, your vision, or your tagline, let us know. We love to hear, the feedback, and we love to hear what each of y'all are doing and coming up with. Yeah, so leave us a comment, even if you're just kind of watching back. I will say next week is going to be a really cool podcast. We every Wednesday at 11:30 we go live, and you can always watch back as soon as our live is over. We have the watch back. We are going to be on fourth quarter, which we've talked about fourth quarter a little bit, but this is going to be more about proposals. So how when we're in
Mhm.
this fourth quarter, this is not when you're trying to meet people in the agency or meet contracting officers. You are bidding on things because there's going to be a lot of bids coming out, and that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about some proposals, and then we're also going to talk about, seeing those influx of bids coming in and services that are needed.
And we're going to talk about how to use AI to help you to put out more proposals and to source more opportunities. So join us next week because we're going to be covering that fourth quarter and proposal madness. That's the time for it. And we're going to be sharing how to source more opportunity using AI, using different tools, but also how to crank out more proposals for these last 2-3 months of the fiscal year. With that said, stay in tune with us. We have a GovCon community. If you are not a member of the GovCon community, Lane's going to put the link to the community because that's really where you come and keep up with all the events, all of the podcasts, all the different things that we're doing. We are having a special. You can actually, if you're not a member yet, you can actually become a trial member for $1. That's it, $1 as a trial member for 7 days to see if it's a good match for you. And then there's a few different levels of membership in the community. We have news, we have classes, we have training programs, 3 or 4 events every single week for you to really come and be part of in the community. So that's how you can kind of really maximize your the resources and the tools that you need to succeed in the government market. And with that, you are one contract
and one grant away from all your dreams, from all your successes. And before we log off, I did want to say, with one of our events that we do, we if you're kind of joining us today and you're like, I'm really intrigued in this, but this was a lot of gibberish, like what's going on, what does it mean fourth quarter? Well, we actually have a 12-week class that takes you through government contracting, becoming a capture manager. And that's something, there'll be a link in the GovCon community, or you can email us at info@govcontractors.org, and we would love to talk more with you about that. But we will see everybody next week at 11:30.
All right, have a good
Bye.
one.